Hi, everybody. I'm Aaron
Wow.
Schwartz, one of the founders of Orita. We do AI segmentation for a bunch of companies. But more importantly, I'm friends, acquaintances, buddies
We're
with
friends.
Sarah from rediem, like Carpe Diem. Very excited to interview you today, Sarah. Thanks for making the time. I've been looking forward to this for a while. I know it's taken a little bit of time to schedule, but we made it. And
Mhm.
I want to get out of the way and have you introduce yourself and your background, and then a little bit about the company, and then I will start grilling you.
I can't wait for that. Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. So, hi, everyone. I'm Sarah. I'm one of the co founders at Rediem. Got here through like a long and winding journey, but my career started in marketing. So, spent my time kind of studying what actually drives customer engagement. I was at a top Boston marketing agency out of Boston where we worked with billion-dollar brands. And then I've also done some consulting work for like Equinox on their membership retention strategies. And Rediem is a customer engagement and rewards platform that essentially helps brands own and activate customer relationships as purchases shift to marketplaces, retail, and AI driven channels. We kind of unify customer behavior across socials and retail touchpoints into a single unified profile. And I can share more maybe later, but that's the
Well, I mean, let's dive in there, and then I'll go back to your background a little bit. But
cool.
part of what I'm hearing as you described it is like there are a lot of great loyalty and community building tools for like a D2C world, but it sounds like
Yeah.
you're thinking about this much more of an omni-channel world. So it's like a combination of you are getting these products in many places. Maybe it's on Amazon, maybe it's in store, it doesn't, and yes, you're online, but there's
Mhm.
also like connecting the community offline as well. Or am I, yeah, go a level deeper.
Yeah, it's both online and offline. Like you can use Rediem to reward people for attending an in-person pop-up. So there are all these kind of touch points that exist today. And we are essentially consolidating those touch points. We are white labeled, so we live on site as both a community and engagement tool. And so on the surface, brands can host what looks like fun challenges and activation. For example, Sunbum hosted a New Year New Bananas challenge where you could share like your New Year's resolution, or Olipop hosted a hunt for all 5 cans. They partnered with SpongeBob. It was very fun. There was like a giveaway and a leaderboard. But under the surface, we're collecting like hundreds of thousands of data points from omnichannel purchases to, we mentioned some of those like in-person activations, user-generated content. So a lot of the content is image-based. So we're able to track all of that. And then, yeah, just help brands really understand their customers on a very deep level.
Go back to your background a little bit, right? So you were in marketing, you're at some obviously some big places, some agency like studios,
Hmm.
kind of two different threads I want to pull on. Like what
Yeah.
got you into like founding this business? But then
Mhm.
secondly, what are the things that you thought you understood that you were wrong about that has kind of changed? Because I've seen the business go through, right? Like where
Yeah.
you guys are now is incredible. And
Yeah.
originally I was like all bought in on what you're doing, but like obviously you pivoted for good
Hmm.
reason. So
Yeah.
yeah, go into your background a little bit more and like, yeah, we'll bring it
Yes.
to today.
I'll share like kind of the why behind Redeem, which I think has remained constant throughout. But my background, when I was at the marketing agency, I worked primarily in paid social. And so we were just pouring like millions of dollars into essentially what was a leaky bucket. I'm sure many people, at least on this podcast, probably know that only 20% of people return to make a second purchase. And that number also drops when purchases are being made on like, Amazon or TikTok shop. So I became just really obsessed with like what actually drives LTV. How do we get customers to stick around? And really, what I learned, and there's like a bunch of studies on this, like a Harvard Business Review. It's all about creating an emotional connection with your customers. And you've seen this like play out. Like, for example, in 2017, after the travel ban was announced, like Airbnb housed like refugees and displaced people. And there were these moments where these brands would take these actions and you could feel it in terms of the shift of how customers perceive them. And so I was always interested in that dynamic between like, these brands have all this power and influence. How do we harness that for like a force for good while also driving this deeper affinity for the brand? And so actually the original conception of Redeem Rediem was a consumer app. So it was more focused on like the environmental social good element where like you could participate in a challenge for composting and then you could use those points to redeem like free socks at Allbirds. As probably many people know, it's very difficult to build up an audience on a consumer app. And actually what started happening was the brands that we were working with were like, hey, we want to host this challenge like on our website so our customers can see it versus like relying on the audience that we were trying to slowly build. And so we realized that there is a huge opportunity for us to take everything that we had learned in the consumer app about like how to drive this deeper affinity and kind of the levers that you can pull and put it into this new white labeled loyalty platform. And so, yeah, that's what we did. And that's how we ended up here.
So the platform is obviously dynamic and like it's great technology, but it also sounds like you need the experience to be specific to the brand. Like I can imagine,
Yep.
Ufos, which I'm wearing right now. I'll have you know, I love
Nice.
Ufos,
Love
right?
it.
And Sunbomb's
Are you
experience
in the
was,
program?
oh yeah, big time. They should sponsor us. Ufos and Sunbomb have maybe it's the same audience, but like different reasons why customers are buying them, and I'm sure they want different like activations.
Yeah.
So where do you guys come in to help a brand figure that out? And how do you help brands identify what would actually be great for their audience, given that they know their customer base obviously better than anybody else could?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a certain level of expertise just from like the consumer app, but also seeing what works across brands. So we're
Mm,
coming in as like a strategic partner and making recommendations. And obviously, we need inputs on the brand on like what their goals are because every brand is different. Like, some brands come to us and they're like, we only care about the engagement rate, where others are like, we're more focused on the revenue side of things. So we kind of tailor our recommendations based on the brand goals. But I think what's been amazing is just like how much we've been able to learn from all the activations we've run with brands. And that's kind of one of the additional benefits of joining the Rediem network is you are getting all those insights and learnings to know what really is going to move the needle, like what type of challenge, what type of reward,
mm.
things like that.
Are brands looking at the work that you're doing specifically on like the outcome of like, hey, you drove revenue? Or are they looking at the input metrics of we had this many people sign up and this many site visits? Like, are they thinking about it more holistically as a funnel, or is that kind of a balance?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of a balance. And again, it depends on the brand and what their goals are. Like we have some retail only brands that are really focused on like driving velocity in store. And then we have D2C brands that are looking just at like direct redemption revenue driven through redeem coupon codes. So I think it depends. And I think to your question before this on just like how customizable Redeem is, we've made it to be like Lego blocks in the back end. So it's
Cool.
really easy for you to create these different campaigns and have like a totally different experience. Like UFOS and Sunbum have two totally different brand voices, totally different goals. And the experience on the Redeem platform is like you wouldn't be able to tell that this is the same software powering the two, but we've built it in a way that like it's very self-serve. The brands can launch challenges. They can do this all on their own, but the end result is that it feels totally unique to the brand.
Yeah. As we all know, UFOs are great for triathletes after race or for old men with bad backs. It is a awesome product. I have so
Yes.
many pairs of UFOs and I love them
Yeah,
deeply.
that's awesome. I have
Um,
the same pair actually, Aaron.
no big deal.
Green.
Um, we'll talk more offline. I'll ask you for a discount. It's fine. When you like, if I think about what loyalty was back when I was running my brand,
Mhm.
which is forever ago, and like what it started to become, a lot of it was like, we're going to give you a discount and we're going to get you to sign up. But what I'm hearing is a lot of what you're doing is actually about like community and connectivity to the
Yeah.
brand. And like, how do you combat the like need for discounting? Or is it like, look, for a lot of brands, the discount is actually like a really good strategy. It gets people in, it increases your repeat purchase rate.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like there's some tension there. I'd love for you to like kind of explore.
Yeah, I think that the like discount doesn't go away, especially for brands that have some sort of a D2C presence. Like we're not saying the discount code is dead, but I think when we're talking to executives or CMOs, it's like, do you want this customer that's trained to wait
Mm.
for that discount or like the one who's hunting for a limited release item and like who genuinely identifies with your brands and who tells their friends about it? So I think we kind of paint that vision of like, in a loyalty program that's solely discount based, you're training your customers to think
Mm.
that, discount gifts are a bribe, right?
Mm.
Whereas with Rediem, it's like you're training them to feel like they're part of this community. And we think that like brand belonging is really the only moat left in this new AI world, which I'm sure we can get into. But in our minds, the new version of loyalty, there's like a few core principles. Community is obviously at the core. You mentioned that. Co-creation is huge. So like letting customers shape the brand's future, both in like large and
Mhm.
small ways. I think identity expression, like giving people roles or just like recognizing them for the fact that they, have been a
Mm,
member for X long or have participated in Y way. Exclusive access is also an incredibly powerful lever over discounts. So, whether they're getting like early access to a product launch, or maybe you're doing like an in person pop up, and because they're part of a certain tier, they're able to access that. They get a special ticket or code. And I think the like incentive structure never goes away. Like, we're not saying that you don't need rewards or you don't need discounts. That's a big part of it, but that's all it is. It's just a part of it. It's not the whole
Mm.
thing. And I think these current loyalty platforms are just only built around that.
so I want to abstract away from your business and just think about this from a brand's perspective, right? Somebody
Uh-huh.
who can't afford a platform or isn't there, but you're trying to like help them think about some core principles.
Yeah.
One that you just shared is like, look, understand your customer, and you might have some who are going to be discount purchasers and like, but don't
Yeah.
make everybody in spirit, don't make everybody a discount purchaser.
Yeah.
So it sounds like one way to do this is to make people feel special, like give them rules, like acknowledge, hey, look, you're one of our first 100 customers. You don't need a
Yeah.
tool to, you've made much more efficient to use like a partner, right? But
Yeah.
like, so that is one, right? You talked about exclusive access. Again, like
Mhm.
make people feel special.
Mhm.
What are the other, and I feel like teasing out like, hey, have a sense of community. Like, look, yes, this is a transaction and you're buying a product, but like, actually, we're building some cool stuff. We want your
Mhm.
feedback, right? Like, it feels like that is another piece. Are there other things that you think brands get wrong when they jump in, loyalty, or when they're thinking about community building, or other things that you see other companies do really well, where you're like, these are the businesses that are going to be the most successful?
I mean, I think where brands are getting it wrong today and like where we experience the most tension is that brands are operating very much in silos. So you have your like shopper marketing team, you have like the D2C ecom team, you have like the social team, and it sometimes feels like they're all running totally different organizations with different goals. And
Mm.
I think what's most important about building a community is recognizing that like you're all working together. And for this to really work, you need to have the end goal of like, we are building this own channel of customers that we can activate at any point in time. And this is good for the long term of the business. Like, I think where we see tension is definitely in just like, yeah, brands having silos. So making sure that across the board, everyone's like recognizes the importance of community building.
I love how you said that. I'm going to repeat it, make sure I got it.
Hmm.
Like we are building owned channels of customers we can activate at any time.
Hmm.
I love
Yeah.
that as like an objective, right? It's look, you can keep spending money to go acquire, yeah, and you can like
Yeah.
go really try to eke out the next incremental dollar, or you can really
Hmm.
own the relationship.
Totally.
But it sounds like that's actually a lot of work, right? Like you've gotta, it's not something you get to do one off. And that
Yeah.
to me, probably why you're saying like it actually needs to be like a cohesive team effort. Like it's every
Cross-functional.
touch point needs to, okay.
Yeah, and I think, like, we don't look at this as a lot of work because how our brands have been using Rediem is they're like, "All right, what's our 2026 marketing calendar?" Like, "What products are we launching? What holidays are we highlighting? Like, what in-person activations are we hosting? How do we bring our customers into that?" So it's not like, "Okay, here's a new channel that you need to, like, go and promote and, like, create moments around." It's like, you should be bringing your customers into brand moments already, and we're giving you the platform that enables that. And so that's how our brands are thinking about it. It's not like additional work. It's just like, okay, we're integrating this into our current process, marketing process.
Sure.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's like you guys are an accelerant. Hey, look, we're going to give you like a best in class experience for your customers. Like that's what you care about. How can we
Uh-huh.
enable you to do that? Um,
Yeah.
help me, sorry to go like maybe too far in the weeds, but I'm super
Mhm.
curious about the like, you work with some bum, we work with some bum.
Yeah.
By the way, like you and I were back channeling, we were talking
Yeah.
about like we won't name her, but like how incredible she was. You're like, yeah, she's the best. Like she, so an incredible team.
Yeah.
They sell everywhere. It's a massive business. Everybody knows
Mhm.
about it. What does it look like for me if I'm an online buyer or you're an in-store or somebody's on Amazon? Like, how's it all actually connected? I think that part is still confusing to me. Like, what is the magic that you guys are able to do?
Yeah, and I think also Sunbum is a great example of a company that doesn't operate in silos, so I'll give them that shout out.
Wow.
They do a great job, but I would say, like, for them, it's like, okay, if we're launching a new challenge, like, right now, they're doing a Smells Like Summer campaign, which basically started because a bunch of people told them that their original sunscreen reminds them of the smell of summer. So they're running a whole activation for it. They're running paid ads. Like it's a whole kind of tentpole moment for them. And they're looping Rediem in. They're sending out SMS texts. They're posting on socials about it. They have it on the homepage of their website. So it's like this fully integrated kind of campaign or experience. And so if you're buying in store, could either see an ad or you could see it on their social. One thing that we do with a few clients, actually, like Vita Coco, is we have our QR code on their packaging that goes to a deep link to upload a receipt. But there's like a million different ways that you could come into the community, and the brands that are doing a great job, like Sunbum, of like not operating in silos, are the ones that are making sure that they're capturing you and bringing you in no matter where you're coming from.
Got it. So part of your job is to enable the brand to meet the customer where they're at. And like
Yes.
the QR
100%.
code. Okay, cool. It's incredible you guys are already doing that. I did not realize that.
Yeah.
Um, I have to ask about AI. Everybody's
Yeah.
favorite
Yeah.
topic. We gotta do it. But I think specifically with you guys, like how do you think about like loyalty and the products you're building and the brands you're serving in a world where like, I don't know, like the purchase behavior is going to change, the like discovery funnel is gonna change. Like, are you yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I don't even know what my question is, but I have zero
I
doubt you've
do.
been thinking about this. So like
Yeah.
teach me.
And
What do you think
I
about
do
this?
have a hot take.
Let's go.
I mean, our hottest take is that brand websites won't exist at all in the future. I think that that's the hottest version of that, but I think realistically they will exist, but it'll be more like a flagship where people will go to like, or the brand will try to educate customers and create this community. So it'll serve a totally different purpose. The end goal will not be having someone transact there. And I think even like with Shopify surfacing you in like AI chats, it's like now the goal will be um it's this whole back end and you need some way to engage with your customer, right? Because as AI agents or as commerce is reintermediated by AI agents, you're just getting further and further away from your end customer, and the brand needs some way to communicate their values that isn't relying on like people going to the brand website to transact. And so that's where we believe that Rediem becomes increasingly important. And I think, going off of that as well, it's also like who is showing up in these conversations. It's authentic community conversation that's being cited, whether it's on like Reddit or YouTube. And one thing that we're working on at Rediem is helping you mobilize your consumer base, right? In some cases, brands have like millions of customers in their Rediem community. How do we get them to go participate in like the subreddit that's currently surfacing in ChatGPT? And so that's one huge unlock that we're also currently working on. And so it's not just the on-site kind of like GEO, AEO benefit of having this community with this long tail natural language. It's also like you can actually deploy your real customers to go and help fill the gaps based on like share of voice and where you need to improve. So
That is
there's,
super cool.
yeah.
Is it like I would be incentivized or I would get more status or something if I go to Reddit and I engage, or how is that like the base level? But like, how should I be thinking about this?
Yeah. So you have to be very careful with Reddit, right? Because they want to safeguard it and keep an authentic place. I mean, that said, there's like agencies creating a bunch of bot Reddit.
Yeah. I mean, they can want what they want, but I did SEO for a very long time. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think where like Rediem comes in is it's like surfacing those conversations to like the community members and encouraging them to participate. Maybe there's some reward element to that and having them just join the conversation, and even like creating an FAQ. Like one way that people improve their on-site GEO is through an FAQ.
Mm.
And with Rediem, you can get people actually conversating in a way that mimics how they're going to be typing that into ChatGPT or Claude, right?
Cool.
So it's actually more beneficial than just like a static FAQ and optimizing
Yeah.
for that. So there's a lot of different angles there.
You're slightly younger than me. How should I be thinking about Gen Z? Like how is how like a little bit less shopping experience, but more like what are their expectations of a brand today? Like what is
Yeah.
truly authentic? How do you make sure that you're doing it in the right way? Again, forget your platform for a minute. Like help me understand if I'm serving this audience as a brand owner, what should I be thinking about? And then we'll go in more to Redeem.
Yeah, I think so. In general, the way that brands advertise has totally shifted. Older demographics were used to these like polished advertisements, and it was a one way conversation in which the brand is trying to get you to buy something. And I think social media plays a role in kind of like changing that, but like Gen Z has radically different expectations of the brands in these previous generations. They expect like authenticity, they want raw content and raw footage, and they don't want to feel sold to. Like they want to co-create with the brand. They don't want to feel like they're buying from you. They want to feel like they're like building with you. And so I think that's a core shift that we see. And, Redeem helps support that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Um, when you say older demographics, we're talking about like my parents, right? We're not.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. Yeah,
you got it.
those problems. All right. I'm curious about the metrics you look at
Mhm.
or that your brands are looking at, right? Because like part of you're building something new, right? You're not like category creating, right? Like there's been loyalty and community. And, I ran a business 15 years ago where I had every customer vote on what our next product was. So I was like, how do we build community? How do we make people feel special? So like the
Mhm.
spirit is there. By the way, I'll go into my sustainability business. That was exactly the same as what you guys started with separately. So you're not category creating, but you're trying to get companies to think maybe more holistically, more long term and omni-channel. And like there's a lot of like suspend disbelief, like
Mhm.
we're gonna help you get there. What are the
Yeah.
metrics that brands are looking at to help understand and be like, oh cool, I'm actually bought in, or like I see that this benefit is compounding and yeah, we should keep this on our marketing budget for next year. And not your software. I mean like literally thinking about engagement as like a core pillar for or community as a core pillar for our customers.
Yeah, I can start high level and then give you like some specific
Sure.
examples, but I do think that we need new metrics for this. I think the like, comparing a loyalty member to a guest that these older legacy platforms promote is just kind of like a bogus metric. We look at like contribution scores, sentiment lift, participation velocity as well, and
Cool.
then community influence. I think that like traditional loyalty KPIs really only capture like a tiny slice. And I think the other thing that is really interesting to us is this idea of brand mindshare. So when someone like thinks about this category, who do they think of first? And we're working with a company called True Earth, and they actually do sustainable laundry strips, and they reward customers for washing their clothes on cold because it has a positive environmental impact, and they're very sustainable. And they actually have a very high percent, higher than you would think, of customers who come back and they haven't missed a week where they're washing their clothes on cold every week. So you can get credit for this action once a week.
Will they self-report the action, or is it like you got to take a video? How do you do that?
It's, an image base. They have it set up as an image base. Yep, so you can take it
Cool.
weekly, and you have to imagine that those people are now thinking of True Earth anytime they do laundry because they're like, "Oh my gosh, I need to make sure I get my points for washing my clothes on cold." So it's an incredibly powerful lever, I think, when deployed properly, and it's definitely harder to quantify, and we do have metrics which I can share that we are able to quantify as well, but that's so powerful right now. And I would say, like, to your earlier point, we are category creating. Like, loyalty is kind of our wedge into the
Uh,
market, but we do see ourselves as creating a new category, and we're working on a new like North Star metric that we'll be announcing soon called the community flywheel ratio.
cool.
And that's going to be kind of like what we're focused on versus like some of these vanity metrics that other loyalty programs like to promote.
I'm all in for new metrics. I had one when I was at Loop Returns that I'm still convinced is the right metric and nobody wants to hear it. I'm like, no, no, no. You guys are missing it. So
Yeah.
I'm down. Let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
add a trademark to it.
Yeah.
I want to do this right.
Yeah.
So just as a quick diversion to
Yeah.
go back to like when I had long hair, that was not great. That my kids love seeing these photos. The first company I started was during business school. And just
Mhm.
to be fair, I went to Berkeley, Haas. So like definitely, not it was a sustainability business, which fit the time. And what we were trying to do is gamify sustainability. And we actually had to be
Oh,
self-reported. Hey,
uh-huh.
if you take a bus instead of a car, take a bike, or you bring a
Uh-huh.
reusable bag, or you refill your water bottle, you get points. And then we
Yep.
had like sponsors who would give you a 20% discount if you hit a certain number of points. And the
So
idea of
similar.
getting people to think about this from the intrinsic behavior side is super cool. Question I have for you is like, not all of your brands that you're going to serve over time are mission based, right?
Mhm.
So some of it
Yep.
is like, when you're talking about the terrific example, like, sure,
Yeah.
there is like the outcome of people associate, but it's like
Exactly.
actually for a good reason. They're like, look,
Right.
we care about sustainability. This is in line. But in spirit, I'm not going to talk about UFOs, but like, I'm sure there's a brand that you have that is like a pure
Yeah.
capitalist. We're trying to sell the next widget and we're building our community to do it. Like, how, this is not how do you think about, but it's more like,
Yeah.
how did those brands tap into like community for the long term if there isn't the like intrinsic motivation of, I'm
Mhm.
actually doing good by being part of
Yeah.
this community or consuming?
So I think that the tension between the two, like driving revenue and this idea of building a community, like is false. Like it doesn't actually exist. And I can give you a few examples of that. So during the California wildfires, a few of our brands launched a reward where customers could essentially donate their points to nonprofits that were on the ground helping displaced families. And what we saw is 80% of customers who donated their points actually came back to the brand website within 4 days and they either engaged with the community or made a direct purchase. And that's not a coincidence. Like we're seeing that pattern across our platform. So there are certain actions that brands launch that when customers take them, they're like 10x more likely to return or they're going to spend more. And so like we believe the two kind of are mutually reinforcing. Um and then I'd say, like, across the board too, like, I mean, we're seeing amazing results. Vita Coco moved from a legacy platform for rediem, and LTV increased by 174%. So, like, we are, like, significantly impacting the bottom line across all of our brands. We see a 75% lift in LTV. Um, and I think it's because of all this, like, reinforcement of that emotional connection that we spoke about earlier. And the two kind of are able to go hand in hand. So, I think we definitely speak to that to some of the brands that are more revenue driven, but ultimately, like some brands are just not going to be a fit for Rediem. Like if you're not really interested in that at all, then like it probably doesn't make sense for us to work with that brand. So
I love it. And even how you just described it harkens back to the idea of the flywheel that you were talking about and like the community
yeah.
engagement side of things. So that makes a ton of sense. All right.
Mhm.
Last thread I want to pull on, and then I promise you can get back to work and serving your customers and, doing the real stuff. I really want to dig in on you as a founder, if that's okay. Cause I've kind of
Yeah.
watched you from slightly afar for a couple of years now.
Mhm.
This won't be too big of a therapy session. What is the like What is the thing or a couple of things that you thought you were great at that you're like, "Oh, actually, I need to get better at," like, as I'm building this business? Like, what has kinda changed in your perception? It doesn't have to be like that you're bad at it, right? But you're like, "Ah, I'm pretty good at this," but actually being exceptional is the thing that matters. Like, I'm curious how
Mhm.
you've evolved as a founder, basically.
I mean, I think there's so much evolving that you do as a founder. There's so many mistakes that I've made and that I've learned along the way. Even just like the typical mistake of trying to build a consumer app. Like, but I think, it's a good question. Overall, I think that there are so many examples. I feel like being more data driven and like, I intuitively knew that these types of engagements or interactions would impact the bottom line positively, but actually like having data to support that is one thing that I've had to like a muscle that I've had to work to improve. And then yeah, I don't know, I could give you a million more examples of
Alright,
things.
that's fair. I kinda put you on the spot there. I mean, the data driven is interesting because, like, based on your background, you're obviously data driven in, like, all of our
Yeah.
interactions, but
Yeah.
I can appreciate that saying that, like, "Hey, look, I was good at it," but, like, to prove to these massive brands that you guys serve, you gotta be able to do that.
Yeah.
Do you wanna say anything nice or mean about your co-founder? This is the shot.
A
You can say
shot. I mean,
thanks.
I feel so lucky to work with
Good
Ridian.
answer.
I could never do this on my own, and she's, like, absolutely amazing, and I think she is just so able to clearly articulate the vision, get people
Mm.
excited. She's the one that runs the sales calls, and people are like, "I've been dreaming about what I can do with Ridian," and that stems from her creativity and her vision casting, and so, yeah, she's awesome. and
That's
I'm very
cool.
grateful.
I felt it was cool. I got to bump into her a couple times at Shop Talk. So she only has
Yeah.
nice things to say about you, by the way. So it was great. Sarah, this was a treat. Thank you for taking the time. I took a bunch of notes. I loved your framing. I think the approach on engagement and community and like actually building something sustainable for brands is real. Like creating that own channel is
Mhm.
so important, especially as like the environment is more noisy and there's so many more competitors and
Yeah.
there's so many new channels and all this is like at the end of the day, like you guys are enabling brands to connect with their customers in a way that
Mhm.
I haven't seen somebody else do. And so,
Yeah.
anyway, it's
Yeah.
just been a pleasure watching you guys build.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me, Aaron.
Yeah. Is there anything else that I should have asked you? Anything else you want to share? And whether yes or no, where can folks find you? I think is the most important question at the end.
Probably just LinkedIn is good. Yeah.
What about the business? Give me the website.
Redeem.
Okay. I like it. REDIEM.co. Sarah, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time. This was great.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Aaron. Appreciate you. Good to see you.
Hi, I'm Aaron Schwartz, co-founder and co-CEO of Orita.ai. We build AI customer segmentation for some of Klaviyo's biggest brands like Oriana, Spanx, Caraway, Third Love, True Classic, Rem Beauty, and on and on. Brands come to us to help find untapped revenue, improve their click rate, drive away mean bots, and a bunch more. You can learn more or get a free customer engagement audit at Orita.ai.